Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the special meeting for the building committee, October 1st, 2025, 5 p.m. Do we want to do a roll call for? What's it?
Hootie Owl.
Hootie?
Yeah.
Hootie?
Hoot.
Hootie. Great. Howard Weisberg, building committee.
Eric Croya, facilities.
Kim Newbeck, Director of Finance.
Greg Putnam, Building Committee.
Sydney Leggett, Superintendent.
Bob Moore, Board of Ed.
Lindsay Dahlheimer, Board of Ed.
John Mahone, Board of Ed.
John G. Mateo, Building Committee.
Darren Overton, Building Committee.
And we have
Rusty Mag, QAM.
Carson Collier, QAM.
Ryan Scritoral, Bennett.
and online we have Dave Cravanzola. Did I say that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
And
Mark.
Mark, you want to just introduce yourself for
Mark Sadensky, ONG Industries, Pre-Construction Manager.
fantastic. Great, thank you. Approval of agenda, item 2. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Okay, public comment. Are there any members of the public online?
No.
There are no members of public here, other than everybody to introduce themselves, so we can move on to item number 4, memorial renovation expansion. Do we want to move to the votes first, or do we want to have discussion on it?
Just discussion.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion. What we'll do is we'll start with the ONG on swing space, and then we'll move to Rusty on Memorial.
Great. With regard to the swing space, we had a pretty busy day out there on Friday when the schools were closed. Punch list at Strong is reduced to the one item, and that is the curtain, which Carson will provide a little more detail on. At the Lyman School, we knocked down all but 3 formal punch list items. We have some signage that didn't come in, one light fixture that's not working, and one patch that I didn't see was finished or touched up painted. And I'm personally carrying 5 additional items. There's one exterior light that we want to add. There's supply diffusers that we're going to switch from being typical to being 2-way, pulling out the ENS, and what's known as phenolic labels for the electrical panels, special order with special language. But other than that, we had a pretty successful day. With regard to the heat trace, the last real primary piece of work out there, we just had some product opportunities. The trade submitted one product that got rejected. They just submitted a new product that looks like it'll be okay. So I have about a 3-week lead time in order to get that replaced. And then the electrician will come back along with the plumber to finalize the work on the books. That's all we have for work in place. At this time, I've just received the pencil application for payment for progress through September. Making comment to that, and then I'll forward that on. And I still have in my charge to produce the, there's 2 additive change orders and 2 deduct change orders coming in. That's about it for swing space.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
No.
Any questions about the swing space?
Might be a good opportunity to, well, let's see, if you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer them, but Carson met out there in the field with a curtain installer, as well as our contractor and our superintendent. I couldn't personally be there, but I've spoken to all on the outcome, and I'll let Carson take the lead.
Yeah, so I'll kind of turn over the conversation. So as part of the base contract work, we did include a gym divider curtain over at the Strong School in order to help separate that overall gym space there. So that's already bought out through the diversity contract at this point. We have a line item for that specific product at this point in time. Now, as we're going through construction, we've started engaging with the construction team, contractors, and the manufacturers about how that system would be installed in the existing space over at Strong. And we started running into a couple concerns, given the various types of systems they have. So overall, that gymnasium is pretty low from an elevation standpoint. So I'll pass out kind of a couple diagrams just of what our findings were. And sorry, Kim. Where we can go, what our recommendations are with a couple different options that we have. Yeah, so base design guidelines for a basketball court, which based off our conversation with Eric. The rec leagues kind of use that gym a lot, kind of after school hours and everything like that. So general guidelines that we'd have for any sort of basketball type environment would be having an unobstructed volume and area of 20 to 25 feet. Good rule of thumb, 25 feet is more of a high school level, 20 feet's on the low side for kind of a middle school age program or anything like that. Based off the existing dimensions that we're seeing with the geometry in there, we have the underside of sprinkler piping at the highest point, kind of in the middle, is at 18'9". And the underside of duct just above that is at 19 feet. So with the ductwork and the sprinkler piping kind of running down that middle spine, we essentially would have to add a lot of other scope of work. We'd have to pretty much put a double line of sprinkler piping on either side of that center line if we were to introduce a new curtain in order to get the proper sprinkler coverages that we need there. And even if we were able to install a roll-up curtain in that zone, that's gonna bring our overall clear unobstructed height down to 15'8", because they need a minimum of 2'10" below the lowest point. So ultimately, any sort of divider curtain that we're looking at that's a suspended system is gonna decrease the overall height within that gym volume space, kind of dividing that area in the middle. So we can do it. I think one of the concerns that we have is that it's just going to cause another problem down the road in a different way than the educational side of concerns that we've kind of been evaluating and trying to move forward with this divider curtain on. So with that, on the back side of this, we had a conversation on site about more of a portable solution, which is more of a furniture partition system at that point. It's a purchased item. You can get them in 25-foot lengths. They're on casters. You can fold them up, store them off to the side there. I think overall, in discussion with Rusty, we have a hard time recommending a solution like this, especially in a gym type environment, just for the safety concerns that go along with everything there. But it's more of a cost-effective solution, less invasive to a school that isn't the focus of the overall project here. But those are the couple options that we've been able to kind of brainstorm, given the existing conditions that we're seeing over at the Strong School. So we kind of wanted to put this discussion to this board to get some level of direction, how we might want to proceed, what you guys would be open to, essentially at this point.
So in general, when we look at it as a permanent solution, it's really, I mean, because once the 5th grade leaves, you're not gonna have this issue anymore.
Right.
So it's gonna be an impediment to the program, you know, forever, or you take it down, and it's a rather expensive installation to take it down. If you have the appropriate monitoring in terms of putting a temporary partition up, that's what it would take, is somebody there making sure that the kids are not running into those partitions. I mean, it would be, you know, an easier solution. It could get done sooner, but and it would be a lot less expensive.
The current schedule with Fifth there, is there, what's running at the same time in the gym?
Yeah, what's the need? What does the curtain achieve?
I don't think we've ever heard that.
There are 2 classes running at the same time. Some, only 3,
5 hours a week.
5 hours a week.
It is, I'm not sure what days, but 5 hours a week, there's 2 classes running at the same
The
time.
gym classes or?
Yes, and I have heard from the staffs that one thinks it's needed and the other doesn't think it's necessarily needed. And I've watched a gym class and it's tight, but my opinion is this is too much for that.
Yeah, I think the curtains overkill, the partitions are feasible. probably all they need in there.
Question would be, you're saying curtain and picturing opaque heavy vinyl or something, right?
Usually it's kind of a mesh up above, so it's not.
Yeah, so
Solid, solid down, yeah.
What about mesh all the way, similar to what the pop-up batting cages they put in gyms that are just, you know, on
Right.
track to pull across?
You
Could
could
be a net.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
so
basically,
even if you looked at a net type product, you still have to be able to have a track to run it on.
right,
And a walk draw doesn't do well on a sloped incline, which the strong school has a sloped kind of ACT ceiling to the underside of the structure there.
but you
So
wouldn't
it's hard
need,
to pull that up.
without a roll, you wouldn't need 2 feet, so you could probably get 17 feet, 18 feet out of a track that would just pull
So
across.
to the underside of that kind of slope on the far end there, you're still terminating kind of in a very close proximity to where we're seeing kind of on here. So that 15, 16 foot area. So it's still well below, and that's gonna be a horizontal line, not something that's gonna be up higher.
Yeah.
Where a tapered solution that's motorized could be up a little bit higher and give a little bit more clear space there.
But if the concern is just balls going from one side to the other, I don't know if that's the concern or not, is
I
it?
think it's.
So that was the original.
Well, is it different grades?
Yeah, the eighth and fifth, or
Well,
is
that's
it?
what,
I'm not sure what the grades are, but
but that's where you
significant.
would probably get
there
more
was a
of
fifth
your.
grade with another grade.
Are there gymnasium type furniture partition systems? Something that is designed to not topple over quickly, you know, padded, things like that? I mean, is there a portable solution that could work? Because, I mean, this seems like it has more viability for use throughout the district. Elsewhere than putting up a curtain that wouldn't.
Right. So doing some research first, we have never used a system like this in a gymnasium for all the safety concerns, let alone that we have there. They do have partitions that have more durable surfaces, polycarb, heavy abuse kind of systems, but at the end of the day, they're still on casters. They're not fixed to anything. So if anyone is running really quick and all of a sudden like plowed into that barrier, there's no guarantee that that's actually gonna stay in still. You always need to have a system that's pinned into the floor, which was another solution we talked about on site, but with that gym being elevated in the cafeteria below, we don't have a ton of existing depth to work with to really anchor something down. And then you're putting new holes into kind of your gym floor at that point, kind of in an incremental.
It would have to be a freestanding type
Right.
solution.
These partitions on the second one, option 2, look like a challenge to a middle score. Like I would. I think it looks like, well, we could topple that over.
Yeah, and the more, call it structural you get, the wider the footings are gonna be.
Yeah,
It's
you're gonna have to be
bear
5
more of
feet
a,
wide.
it's gonna be more of a trip hazard, and you're gonna have somebody really get hurt running next to it, tripping over something.
Is it unreasonable to have gym, one class have it outside? I mean, they go for recess.
Yeah, it just depends on what's going on in the curriculum and the weather,
Yeah.
right, you know,
The weather,
so
of
it's
course,
possible,
yeah.
right? But it also depends on, you know, if there is a certain sequence and what they need to get done, they might need to do something in the gym. I just sent a quick text to Dave and Noel to check on the grade combination too. But I mean, in my opinion, these dividers, like I was a teacher, this would be my nightmare. Like especially in a gym class, like I can't see
It
that
makes it more
happening at all.
chaos than having the gym packed full of kids.
Yeah, and look at those
That's
feet.
really like
that.
You know,
That's
like,
what I said.
that's
It's just
injury,
you're not
that's
gonna
got
look at
injury
it.
like written all over it.
Greg, we both had middle school.
If we just go through and we'll, you know, I know Eric's already got a couple of ideas. I definitely think the curtain system doesn't make sense, but, you know, we can explore as a group, you know, it almost seems like a series of nets or something along, you know, stretching out would probably do it. You really just need a barrier.
Choate Fieldhouse just has, it's a canvas
Batting cage.
rails. I'm trying to pull up pictures of
Yeah.
it. They're panels, but they're dividing volleyball courts from each other and basketball courts from each other.
But yeah, well, I think we'll,
We've installed batting cages like that are typically suspended. What those systems also require is a top track system that they're actually anchored from.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're eliminating that horizontal kind of low point in order to provide some level of separation. The only alternative would be something that you manually kind of have to pull. It's stored off to the side and it's like a pulley system that gets rigged of some sort and you can take down the middle span, but
Almost like.
that's almost a huge undertaking to try to lift the weight of all of that, kind of run that up and get it clear for a basketball game if they're ever using it full court at that point.
So we'll just table this and continue to evaluate options.
Which is fine. I think part of the concern with the swing space and why we want to try to get to a resolution on this is that we do have a line item value for the construction team that owns a walk draw curtain. So if we're not going the curtain route from this group and we get that approval, we can move forward with the contractor to credit that out and reimburse kind of the owner contingency essentially at that point in time. And then further options can be explored outside of the contractor that helped with the swing space.
Would we, Kim, would we then be able to use that funding to purchase something?
6 or 8 foot.
So we wouldn't be able to use the contractor contingency, right? We'd have to use owner contingency at that point?
Yeah, the money is right, the funds would come back out of the contract you have with OG, so the fund is $15,000 is the value of that. So it's all come back to your project, wherever you want, however that money funnels into the Board of Ed is how you need to manage your personal finances.
No, it'd just be an item that we purchase and own as opposed to a contractor.
Excuse me.
What do you-
John saw like an idea,
There's
like
one
a
right
more
there.
anchored bottom that only went like a quarter of the way up, if not, halfway up, as opposed to coming
Yeah, I
from the
think
ceiling
the
down.
partitions are problematic,
You're right.
but if this is all we need for height, why wouldn't the net work as 6 or 8 foot height?
It's how it's how you're supporting that net system.
But we can
So
purchase that.
I mean, like a basketball or
Yeah, that would be fine.
volleyball net.
Yeah, like a volleyball,
Right.
that's what
There's
John
a
is showing.
for volleyball.
Right.
Put up.
Just a taller volleyball.
Right.
So I wondered.
And nothing needs to be anchored beyond like a weighted pedestal.
No, I got you.
Ties it together.
Base is like a umbrella.
So.
base.
It looks like
So-
more substantial. than the-
So do you,
I like that.
are you guys looking to close out this item and transfer the issue to the board? Would that be viable?
That'd be good.
It's okay with me, I'm looking to see what the board.
That money.
Right.
Should that money be paid?
I mean, alternatively, can we ask you to purchase those on the contract?
So
So we could do that too. That might be better.
Let's do that then. We won't resolve it here, but we'll come up with some options for a weighted base type net system.
Yeah, but John thought on this.
So John, all I ask is whatever that is, if you have a link to it, if you can email it to Rusty, myself, we'll kind of review that with the construction team and we can see what an outfit looks like for that.
That would be great.
Did the PE teacher who was interested in this, like have a desire for it to be like opaque so that kids couldn't get at each other or talk to each other or, make faces at each other?
We didn't get into that.
No.
So is it balls or is it young kids with older kids?
I'm guessing it's a visual break,
Yeah.
right? So.
Cause that wouldn't.
Oh,
be
so-
the vision.
Running into each other or just some kind of divider, right now they have cones, they just put cones across, so.
It seems like we should share this.
Yeah, you can do open
whoever's
screen.
interested And share some other options that may work. See what's acceptable.
Yeah, so we'll hold off on it, but it looks like we're gonna just provide a purchase type item for the contract.
that links comes in.
And we'll have that within a couple days, I guess.
Great sense.
Awesome.
Thanks for the explanation.
Back to operations on the swing spaces. Last check, everybody was happy with it, parents, teachers, staff. Eric?
Yeah.
Any issues?
No, no.
Great, and sounds like traffic is resolved itself at both schools?
Yeah,
So,
they're figuring it out.
Saturday traffic storm.
well, yes, yeah, that wasn't, somehow that, I don't think that was us.
So Howie, just to let you know, I did hear from one parent about the new 4th grade modular being smaller than the others. And just being kind of a tight fit. Kim and I did go through the guidelines and we are still within the, student square footage guidelines.
Okay,
But just for the record, we did receive that.
And that was addressed?
Do we look at maybe some ways to open up some of that space for like storage or?
So we need to open up storage inside because just based on the modular size, the teacher can't keep a lot of regular storage out there, so. Mr. Ford is looking for a lot of storage solutions in the hallways. Kim and I walked around, there's some hallway space where we could put bins. Some of it is trying to clear out some of the other things that are in the school to make room for other storage, that there's just. It's kind of like a longer process.
okay.
And the teachers.
The
been
teacher's
okay with
fine.
it and is
Yeah.
okay with it.
Mhm.
The ADA bathroom takes.
Bathroom, yeah.
Yeah, the ADA bathroom took up a lot of the modular space.
And was there an ADA bathroom before or?
It's, well, it's the new modular.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think,
Oh,
yeah, so I think I mean, again, I wasn't here when all of this happened, but I think I think that the size of that ADA bathroom was just something that, you know, has to be, like, there's no option, whatever, but it just sort of makes the classroom space a little tighter than the
but
other
if we're
modulars.
still in excess of the minimums and
We are, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, it is what it is.
As long as the teacher's supportive and
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, teachers and everybody's been happy with the changes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And there was correspondence with the person that made the complaint.
Yes, mhm,
Excellent.
multiple.
Well, that's the most important.
Great. Well, once again, thank you for all your work on the swing spaces. This was
Getting to the end
impressive. Yes. Great.
of the beginning. Your next most important part of this project, huh?
Yeah. And anything else on the swing spaces? All right, Wesley, show's yours.
So on the main project where we're developing construction documents, we have meetings that are scheduled starting tomorrow at 8:30. And they'll go on through next week. So that, you know, we're prepared for those meetings, with the teachers and the administrators and staff. And we'll have various documents to share with them, layouts of the rooms, images of the spaces. And once we're done with them, as I reported last time, then we'll present all of that. We're going in updates to the building committee. So I anticipate probably at the next building committee meeting, which is in 2 weeks, I think. So
I think we're turning the 8th, so it's a
Okay.
joint Board of Ed
Joint
building committee
yeah.
meeting next week. So we'll plan on doing a joint presentation for the entire Board of Ed and building committee, just on the design update.
When did
And
you
then,
say you're meeting with the teachers?
I'm sorry,
You said you're meeting with the teachers next week?
Starting tomorrow.
starting tomorrow through into next week.
Yeah.
And then there was a meeting with the local officials to talk about the whole schedule and the importance of having the approvals from them. And the understanding that the approval that they're truly giving is not a building permit approval. Carson was there, you explained the process about how the meeting, and really a third-party reviewer that includes building official, fire marshal, health department, all of them will do the actual review. And then they have any comments that they have, they list, and then the local officials sign off on those comments with us showing them how we've addressed those comments. So that's a fairly typical process. I think there was more discussion about who the third-party reviewer will be, and that's totally up to the town and to the board, the building committee officials. We always recommend somebody that's gone through the process, because they know what the state's looking for and can shepherd the process along very quickly. So that, I believe at the end of the day, everybody was on board with what we were trying to accomplish. And the fact that there's a limited amount of time to have all this done, all these reviews done in. But the key here was to make them understand that the permit set is really not, and we'll be coming to them afterwards, because we'll go through a bid process and there'll be addendums issued, et cetera, based on questions asked during bidding and so on. So that final conforming set will be their full permit set, and that they have a full, at that time, they have a full 30 days to review and approve the project if they so choose. So that would be very, very standard in the process. But at least we believe everybody's on board with it, and seeing that like we're all working in the same direction. So that's very positive. So it's a very brief report, other than Ryan is here because the questions were raised, or some concerns and comments about the septic system, the stormwater wells. So Ryan can explain the systems and also take any questions that you have.
Just one quick thing, I was asked. Told me today there's no sinks in the second floor of the 4th and 5th grade wing, and I told him I think there are. I saw them on the plans, so some teachers don't think there's sinks.
Well, we sort of prepared them in the sense that they may not, because typically you'll have sinks pre-KK one. Not every classroom gets a sink in most of the schools. It's a cost issue too. So what we'll be discussing as we go further down is where we have more casework in there than we might be able to afford, so we may have to make some hard choices on whether we want to have that additional casework cabinetry in those rooms. And then the sinks may come up as one of the value engineering items as well. For now, we're trying to keep everything in there, understand what the cost is, and if we have to pursue any kind of value engineering, that may be one of the issues, but that can come before the committee to make the determination as to what
I'm
your
just
priority.
probably gonna hear about it.
Are there sinks in all classrooms at the elementary school level now?
I believe so.
Really?
From my.
Is
Yeah, I
that,
believe there was a little bit of a concern that there wasn't one when they moved to Strong for the fifth grade, because they did have one in the fifth grade at Lyon.
is that a requirement for classrooms to have sinks? I can't honestly remember every,
It's more of a convenience.
Yeah, it's a
Kind of request there, kind of.
Well, they have.
And in common in the younger grades.
yeah, I can see a comment in the younger grades, but
I said in the science classes, they're in their room, they don't go to a separate science room,
Mhm.
so they need water for cleanup.
Science and art would make sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they.
media center, things like that, but every basic classroom, it seems,
Doesn't use.
it
And I
seems
think
like,
the approach when we talk about a science curriculum more so is at the fifth grade level, where we talked about maybe fitting out one fifth grade classroom as the dedicated science lab that has a little bit more storage
Yeah.
for their kind of experiments and their boxes and kits they talked about from a programming standpoint. So I think we have a couple options that we can explore with that, and we'll re-engage those conversations again, with the faculty.
yeah, if it's gonna be there, the expectation is that it's going to be a continuous use item. I don't want a sink that's being there because, well, they had one somewhere else. You know, there actually has to be a functional need for it, if it's not a Board of Education requirement that we put one in.
It's
So
not-
otherwise running
it's not a requirement.
plumbing to every single room is going to,
It adds up.
It adds up a lot.
yeah.
The reality is some teachers may want it and use it, and others
Mhm.
will not use it. You can't discriminate at that point because you're not gonna assign a room by.
Yes. Now, there has to be a programmatic need for it, in my opinion, for us to have it in there, especially at the higher grades.
If not, there's usually like directly across the hall, is usually access to bathrooms in those wings in the older grades, right?
Yep.
Yeah, what we should do is establish a maximum distance to a sink or something from a
Right.
classroom.
You're gonna hear about it.
I was gonna say, if it's already been discussed, it's probably gonna be something that's gonna come up during your teacher conferences.
And it was the one item that was requested by every respondent to the original survey and questionnaire that they all wanted sinks. And we prepared them at that time that, yes, certain grades, it's fairly typical, especially pre-KK one. Second grade, it became a little more difficult because now that's there in the existing building, so it means hooking up the floor slab, etc.
Right.
To install all the plumbing. And then the third, fourth, and fifth are on the upper level, so they're and in the new section. So it's easier to do, but it's still the.
It's running an awful lot of plumbing,
Yes.
to everything. I think you have to look at max distance requirements and making sure that everybody's within X amount of feet from their door to a sink or something.
And Memorial has sinks now, every classroom.
How are you gonna go to the meeting?
Sure, absolutely.
How are you gonna go to the meeting?
Yeah, there's a practical limit to
I know.
what may, and I just don't understand why, you asked it. Yeah, there's just, as long, there has to be a justifiable reason for it to exist for us to do it. And then if there is, fantastic, but.
I know it says, I don't have the plans in my head yet, but I know that a lot of schools are building just the bathroom stalls and then all the sinks in the hallway, right? Because it increases that passive supervision of kids. So I don't know if that might be a solution where, yes, if they need to wash their hands, at least they can have like the door open, there's passive supervision from multiple classrooms. You don't have little ones kind of disappearing down the hall to wash their hands, which is probably what the teachers are thinking about.
So
That's a good point. I've seen that too.
is a good suggestion. We can go over the plans when we kind of meet with the various stakeholders and everything. But we are looking at more of, and I'm gonna call it an airport style bathroom, but it is sink forward
Yeah.
on corridors so
Yeah.
that your privacy is kind of in your stall area more so, and then your sinks are more readily accessible for hand washing, good practices at an elementary school age level there. So
I think that's a great idea.
yeah,
All the way up there.
What's included in the SD budget?
I think we had this thing shown in the.
that's been a common, yeah, we carried that in the SD. So,
Yeah, I think we need to ensure there's access. How it's accomplished, we'll just have to determine.
okay.
So are there any changes to the land use schedule?
I'm sorry, to the-
Any changes to the land use schedule for the submissions?
At this
Timeline.
point, I'm not sure what changes you had in front of you in the first place, but I can tell you what the schedule is. Make it,
Okay.
when she's here. We submitted, a couple weeks ago, we're gonna be on actually got accepted at the last P and Z meeting. We're gonna be heard on at the 4th week of October for our first meeting. And, we're just working out the details with Robin as of right now, but that'll be when we present to P and Z.
So the October meeting's when?
Fourth
Fourth
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Second, I wanna say,
Great.
and I'm just working with Robin right now to make sure we have the appropriate fee for the third party reviewer with Jacobson. And just make sure they have all the documentation that they require. We submitted a pretty large packet of materials.
That leaves us still on schedule where we were before. on that.
All right, so we had asked, that Banesh, come, really just for us to understand the philosophy behind a lot of the systems designs, drainage, septic, water. We've already had very good discussions on, the layout, and I think the layout is at a really good place right now. Obviously, a couple minor modifications here and there, but I think overall, the layout is really hitting it. The traffic study and just some dialogue to understand what you're trying to achieve and the best way to do it. So, you have a bunch of engineers on here.
I
so
know.
This is kind of what we do. But Darren, anything to add? Or,
Did you want to present anything to us?
I mean, I guess, is there a certain system you want me to start with and kind of, because I can ramble for a long time going through all of the, components that you're asking about.
drainage
but
first?
Is there one in particular you think is gonna be more of a dialogue that you wanna start on, so we have enough time to get through it? I mean, I could rip through, let's say if I started with septic, go through the components of that, then go into well, and then I can go into the drainage, so we have a little.
Sure,
bit of time to talk
that works.
about.
Yep.
That work for you guys? All right, so as we know, obviously this is a quite a large addition being added to Memorial School, so I'll start with septic. We went out and evaluated the existing septic system, knowing that, there was a potential that maybe we could add on to it, but after looking at it, knowing the age of the system itself and knowing how much we were expanding it, we determined that it wasn't probably practical in order to, add on to that system. So we looked at where could we have potentially put in a new system with all the other components, because as all of you may know, most of you may know, a lot of separating distances to go between the wells, the septic, the storm drainage. They all have to interrelate and also be in proper separating distances to make sure that, one, we're not affecting the discharge from, let's say, a septic system, but also not affecting the yield and the draw-in from the well systems themselves. So when we looked at the site as a whole, the existing athletic field was a practical place. It's a little bit north of the existing septic field. That seemed like a very practical place for us to start looking and doing some exploratory investigation on. We did do test pits with the local sanitarian, who witnessed them. We found great receptive soils in that area, all the way down to 8 feet, with no issues whatsoever with groundwater, and great infiltration rates through that area. So we looked at that as being a potential spot for our proposed septic system. What we did do was we went in and just knowing the elevations of the existing laterals coming out of the building and proposed laterals, we realized we had to end up pumping a portion of the system. So what we're planning on doing is taking the old lateral, tying that in together with the proposed lateral, pumping those up to a discharge manhole, and then gravity feeding it from there down to the two septic tanks in series and then ultimately to the leaching. Field. The leaching field are gonna be four 88-foot long geomatrix, which are a perforated pipe with clean stone, about 2 feet deep. Is the product that we selected. It has very good leaching capabilities to keep the footprint down. So it's a good system for this area. It also has the ability to be HS20 load rated in case, you know, tractors or something heavier equipment goes on top of it. We gave enough cover with the depth that we had. We were able to kind of balance out, not going too deep and also being able to limit the amount of pumping that we would have to actually do for this itself. The only hiccup that we had on the septic end of it was the actual kitchen is on the opposite side of the school from where the leaching fields are. So unfortunately, we had to figure out a way to actually get the grease waste out of the building and then back into the building and then over to the other side of the site. So there will be a secondary pump station, a small one just for effluent on the west side of the building. So we'll have the grease trap and the pump station for that on the west side of the building near the loading dock area, which will be a good spot for them to be able to pump that out easily for maintenance purposes. Is there any questions on the septic?
Is there an oil water separator or anything part of the system for the grease or
There is a grease trap, yeah.
Okay.
There'll be a sizable grease trap for that.
inside or outside?
It'll be exterior, in the loading dock area. So basically the lateral from the grease base from the kitchen area will go out to the grease trap, down to a small effluent pump station, back into the system and into the main piping. The effluent piping for the building itself, and then back out on the east side of the building. It's
I
not,
see, so you're gonna pump from the grease waste tank to the sanitary system.
and then gravity feed it back and then
out to-
go to another pump station to pump out to the man, yeah. It's a little complicated, but it's the only way that ourselves and the MEP could figure out a way to get it around. It was more practical than trying to pump on the exterior of the building around the entire site back to the main.
I just thought there would be
How
much force main or how much pressurized under the building footprint.
There won't be much, actually. It's just pumping up into the building to get back to the
10
gravity.
feet into the structure.
Yeah, so it's actually quite limiting in terms of how much pumping we're doing. Trying to limit that as much as possible to keep the cost of those pump stations relatively low.
Was there any analysis as to whether or not the primary pump would be eliminated?
Yes, we checked that quite extensively with the MEP.
So is there existing grease trap in the kitchen?
Yes.
Now it looks by gravity now?
Yes.
It's looking,
Pump station.
it's an external grease trap?
Yes.
Yeah, the issue, the difference and the reason why it's working off of gravity fed is because the existing system is in the kind of the southeasterly corner of that jog on the property, which is lower in gradient than where we're going. We're going a little bit more north, which is a little more up gradient. And the existing lateral is significantly deeper as been, you know, we could actually manage without having to have a pump station.
So how far off are you elevation wise, needing to pump that?
We're only a couple of feet off, but it's enough where there's no way to really make it work. It's unfortunate, but, and the other thing is we don't exactly have the existing lateral elevation at this point. Still trying to get that elevation set. The original thought was they were trying to rework all of the plumbing throughout the entire building, but they backed off of that, the MEP. They wanted to go back and keep the existing laterals and plumbing inside the building. So we're still trying to work that out. I have it a little bit conservative right now and a little deeper to make sure I'm covering it, but we're still trying to field locate that and figure out that elevation. So it may change a little bit here and there. But I'm hoping I can possibly remove the pump station, but until I know that invert, I can't.
Is that entire lower field occupied by the existing leaching field?
That entire lower corner is, yeah, it's pretty substantial down in that area. I think there's about 8 or 12 rows of perforated pipe in that area.
Is there,
There's existing or proposed?
Existing.
Okay.
so there's no space to test that field without impacting the existing leaching field?
Yeah, they didn't want, when we talked to the sanitarian, she didn't want to go down to that area. She wanted to go a little bit further north to get away from it.
Why?
She didn't give us an real reason, but that was kind of, and the one other reason why I wanted to go further north was to avoid pushing it closer to the residential properties. I was trying to avoid the septic fields being in close proximity to those southerly or easterly neighbors. Just due to the concerns that had been raised early on to my knowledge, so.
Well, it never came up as an issue with numbers, and it was always there. I mean, if possible, it's a surprise, I guess, to need two pump stations. I mean, one, let alone two. And I think under the health code, you can put the leaching field as deep as 8 feet
Yes,
as a maximum. So I think you got a couple more feet to work with on that leaching field.
yeah, we're still working that. I mean, we can continue to look at it and hopefully get out of the pump stations. That's my goal. But I don't see going kind of to the west of the existing leaching fields. I think the location that we have is actually quite ideal in terms of soil characteristics. It's just an elevation thing right now. I think between looking at the existing lateral, where that actual elevation is gonna be a pretty big determinant on whether or not I can eliminate this pump station.
So if you were to move the septic tank, just a suggestion, closest to the gym, because that's the lower exit point from the school. And run your required pitch out to that tank, then there's no minimum after that to the leaching field, but you could save some elevation and potentially not need a pump station.
So, and like I said, we're really looking at that hard. I mean, we're trying to eliminate as many pump stations as physically possible. I know they're just a maintenance issue.
Yeah, we had a discussion with Eric about it, and preference would be to avoid it if possible.
Understood. And just to let everybody know that we have been in contact with the local health department in terms of submission. We're hoping to submit preliminary plans to them for their first review this week. All indications are that it's going to be a B100A submission, which will be under the purview of the local health. Although, because of the size of it, they would possibly send that up to the state just for review, just to make sure they get their input. But in all fairness, she said that it was about a 10-day turnaround for her initial comments. So we're gonna be on target to hit those and make sure we go through those comments and kind of address everything.
Also had a question on the number of students in determining the design flow. The grant application had 764 students, yet the design is for 642.
No, it shouldn't be. If it is, then that's a typo, and I apologize. And I'll go back through it, but
And we discussed that.
we discussed that ad nauseum, so I apologize if that's.
I think there was a big,
The correct number is which, just right?
actually, it's we went to 750 because that was there were two numbers that were being tossed around. One was the 764, but that put us in a higher or lower square foot per student. By going to 750, we got more square feet per student from the space standards, so we capped it at 750.
Even with
I see that,
enrollment
though.
projections, that puts us on the middle high.
I see
end of
the,
The enrollment.
I'll go back through those for you and make sure I mean, I gotta go through them anyways before I submit, so.
So is the existing leach field going to be removed?
Yes,
Okay.
So
and I'll be replaced with a, passive kind of area field. And I can go into kind of the area.
I mean, does it,
It's for stormwater.
does it hurt to, I mean, if it's disconnected, it's essentially just creating more drainage in there, right? I mean, does it even need to be disturbed at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, it does have to be, disposed of per DPH requirement, so you can't just abandon it, you can abandon it in place, but it's gotta be further required. So I can't just.
So even at 750 students at 11 gallons per day, we're at a flow of 8250, which exceeds the 7,500.
I understand. I'll go back through my numbers and I'll make sure we get through this. Yeah.
So if we're above the 7,500, is there a possibility, do we know, Eric, is the water system metered out there now? Yes. Do we have the ability to submit flow information to try and maybe get the gallons per day per student
Yes.
down?
We do, yeah.
So we stay under the 7,500, but we're still able to accommodate the 750 students?
Yep.
Okay.
Are these plans the same that were in what you handed out last week, Rusty?
These
Yeah.
It's right here.
Unless, the one thing, there might be some minor edits that.
There was
Okay.
some minor edits from the DD set to planning and zoning set. Just
Well,
things that I pointed,
Once I reviewed, it showed there were some
Yeah.
errors in addition on the square foot loading. And they were just different numbers. So when the total was the same, but the two numbers that added up were different.
Okay,
And so on that detail page.
Yep.
And also on the other page, it shows the measurements for the leaching field in inches rather than feet.
okay.
So it's
Duly noted.
5 inches of leaching field instead of 50 feet.
I'll make sure. I go
So,
through them with a
You
fine
know, if you
tooth.
take a look at that page, they don't want to have a change order because somebody's wanting to build a 5 inch long leaching field out there.
Yep, understood.
It's on the detail page.
Yeah, it'll be on the septic bleaching one. That's the one I'm planning on submitting at the end of the week, so I gotta go through them anyways.
Yeah, well, I was looking at this and I haven't been there and I don't know what's going on with this mini system. But I assumed it was an error, but, there's errors in those pages and I would take a look at them before you give them. to
I will,
anybody.
I absolutely will.
I assured him we're dealing with feet.
Yeah, I will.
Well, I assumed by.
Are we, has any discussion been given to creating a secondary leaching field for the kitchen area? As opposed to pumping? I mean, do we know, obviously, we have an entire parking lot where we could possibly, put something under the pavement, or has there been any discussion to avoid having to run the secondary pump and everything?
I hope.
Here, right?
I've never done it.
All right.
Well, I don't think your leaching field would just do kitchen waste.
No,
At least would
yeah,
be
usually
really
the
appropriate.
the traditional practice is the leaching, the grease then combines in a sanitary sewer equivalent, and then labels it go out to the septic field, so. They usually don't separate it into,
All right.
I don't think actually, I don't even think that's legal. for
Having
public
two
health.
systems in one. All right.
I don't think discharging just straight grease waste to a septic leaching field by itself.
Well, obviously it would go into its own system, get pumped out, but get, instead of pumping the effluent back. into
Just
the
the
system.
gray water.
No,
separated
yeah,
from the-
yeah,
Which actually should be easier, right? So it's only gray.
I can look into that and talk to the health.
We could
department.
tie in toilets on that side too, so it's not just grease waste.
All right.
We could do something like that.
Like I said, just trying to eliminate as much of the pumps and mechanicals as we can.
I will speak with the health department on that.
All right, I think that, touches septic. You want to touch, water next?
Yeah. So for the well system, we went out and tested both well 3 and well 5 and found that they had very good yield. And I'm not sure if you guys have been given the well yield test results. Did they get a copy of that? I know it was submitted to the planning center.
I'll double check if Kim has a copy. If not, I can make sure that.
I can give you guys
Yep.
well, we'll make sure you get a copy of that, but the yield test results were very good. Which is promising, so we'll be able to maintain well 3 and 5, which are the ones just north of the future addition. We are going to have to replace one of the irrigation wells that was under the proposed building footprint.
That was one in the playground.
That was in the playground plan. So that one, we're gonna relocate further north and east, just above the irrigation pump house shed that you see on the plan. So we have that shown as a relocated well. Then we're just gonna be relocating the piping for both wells 3 and 5 and connecting the piping for the new irrigation wells of the pump house shed. The well 3 and 5 will now, instead of going into the basement area holding tanks, they will go down to the new pump house that will be on the west side of the building itself, which will have all of the pump house equipment in it, as well as all the treatment equipment and tanks that are required for Department of Public Health. And they will also have in its close vicinity 2 20,000 gallon fire suppression holding tanks and then 1 4,000 gallon domestic water holding tank right off of the existing other proposed loading dock area. So it'll be easy to maintain those and be able to service the pump house and everything in case any equipment does go, down in the future. We've started the full design of the domestic water supply and treatment systems. We've also been in contact with the Department of Public Health to make sure that they're aware of it. The good news is that this is going to be a reactivation of an existing water system, not a new system. So the permitting process is a little bit abridged and it makes it a little bit cleaner for us to get through. We are submitting the PCR documentation that we're required for the PCR to the Department of Public Health this week. Actually, it's probably going tomorrow, just to tell them the status of the 2 wells and of the drinking water criteria and also our test results so that they're aware of what's going on and where we're heading right now. We envision the design of the system to be done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then formally submitted to the Department of Public Health for their review, along with the drinking water section. So, I guess that's kind of an abridged version.
I guess my big question is, this pump house. There's a little picture of a little Monopoly type, building kind of, near the entrance to the preschool drop off. Can you expand on that?
It's actually right by the service area, it's close to the service area. And it's a standalone building. I mean, it'll look like it, you know, the rest of the building with masonry. So aesthetically, it will not be an eyesore in any way.
How high is it?
It's a 1-story,
I'm gonna say maybe it's gonna be 10 feet before your eve, and then you're gonna have slope roofs similar to what you have elsewhere at the school at that point. If you're curious, we can send you an example of it's a mirror image of a pump house we installed at North Stonington Public Schools. It was a full campus. They had needed fire suppression kind of thing. They needed the tanks there, so we built a pump house in a very similar fashion here. And it fit pretty well on the site. It wasn't anything that was.
Because aesthetically, I mean, this is our main entrance into, you know, one of our main entrances into the school. You know, the last thing we want is a precast.
No.
box
It's gonna be brick clad, just like the rest of the school, so it'll look like it's part of the overall structure.
maybe far enough back for the service area, and there'll be landscaping and, you know, the dumpsters, so it'll be, that's really all, should be all part and parcel of that service.
It looks like I mean, can that somehow be, you know, because you have the dumpster enclosure right next to it, sort of. I'm wondering if it makes sense to try and have them be kind of a.
We can work on a
Tied
screening,
together.
a screening kind of thing, tie something and dress it up a little bit, that's fine.
My other concern with this area in general is, obviously, we have a front access to the preschool drop-off area, but there is no pedestrian access to the parking lot. So if somebody were to park and want to go to that front area, they don't have an accessible path. And I think that's something we still need to figure out. And right now, it seems like that pump station's kind of in the way, so if we can work that out, because they're gonna do it anyway.
We put some accessible parking spaces.
Up, right, but if they park in the regular parking area and try to walk up there, there's no way to do it.
Yes, we'll be coming in that,
And
not
that's-
coming in the
that's-
main entrance, that's only for
Yeah.
drop off.
That's only for drop off.
Right, if you're putting a walkway to that entrance, it's gonna encourage traffic to enter in that area, and then they're gonna get turned around back to the main.
So there's never going to be a need for somebody to leave that area and walk to the parking lot.
They shouldn't be. I
Okay,
mean, you
great.
don't-
No,
you
that's-
don't want to encourage it.
Yeah, no, that's-
They're walking right
Okay.
by the service area.
Okay, that was my concern, just in terms of functionality. So that's only a pickup, that's only a bus drop off and parent.
Parent drop off, they're taking it farther.
So if a parent is dropping the kid off and walking them in, they're walking in the parking lot, going through the front and going through, or?
No, they should, if they're going to the pre-K, they should be going to the pre-K.
They're going through that loop.
So,
So we're saying if a parent's parking and going in with their child for some reason,
Walking in.
filled in, are they walking in with their child to this entrance, or are they walking through the main entrance?
If they go to the pre-K entrance, they would just parking there, they would park, take their kids in.
So that's what you're saying, they would park up there.
where are they parking? There's nowhere to park around the loop.
Well, I mean, generally, when parents do that, they park, they're queued up in that
Right.
in that loop.
But if a kid was coming in late from a doctor's appointment or something, went right to the classroom, they go in the front door, or they come in the pre-K doors.
Well, I think, I
It's a
think.
policy issue really becomes down to
Right.
where do you want the parents that are coming in late, they should all be coming then to the main office.
Right, that should be before school started. Anything
Right.
after school starting should be entering through that main
Right.
vestibule.
Well, for security purposes as well.
Yes.
Okay, and that,
Pick up and drop off occurs, and then you just said there's some teachers and,
when the site gets developed, we end up, you know, like I said, it seems like it should be fairly easy to make some sort of connection
Exactly,
across.
I was gonna say.
It, you know, I'd hate to not address, you know, I want the site to be accessible.
Yeah, you just don't want it to, design wise to flow that way. You don't want it to look like that.
But I also don't want somebody, what I don't want them doing is making their own path back and forth, walking into the road or walking through utilities. So, because they will find their own path. So as long as we know exactly how it has to circulate and it's enforceable by everything, then it works. But that's just something I saw as a glaring issue. But yeah, if we can incorporate that somehow into the dumpster pads, yeah, I think that may actually work out better.
So while we're talking about accessibility, I don't want to completely get off the water system yet, but I see there's a walkway going out to the sport court and playground area. For the state grant requirements, does there need to be ADA accessibility to the soccer fields to the north and also the lower play field?
Yeah, the loop.
Will there be an accessible routes plan included in the
Yes.
plan package at some point? Okay, great. And then I guess just going back to the water system, I'd just like to understand the basis of design a little bit better. Because we have an existing well system out there now that serves the school. Everything is accommodated within the building, as I understand it. And in talking to Eric, I understand there's no treatment that's necessary for the current water supply. Now, I understand the school's getting bigger. I understand we're adding a sprinkler system, and there's fire protection needs. So I guess I just want to understand the basis of design of moving everything outside, which I can understand it may be more expensive to try and incorporate all this in the building. Or there may be a size and permitting reason why it's better outside the building. I guess understand what's the treatment for, and is this the best location for this equipment? I see we have 2 treatment tanks on there. What do they serve? Why do we need to treat the water?
So preliminary test from our well specialist came back that there was some treatment that was required.
For,
I believe there was some chlorination that he needed to add into it. I'd have to go back through the entire report. I apologize, I don't have it with me today.
that's okay.
But yeah, there was some treatment that he was accounting for, but he said it was minimal. So, we put in 2 tanks. I mean, I'm not gonna say scrambling to get the DD package fully together with our well specialist, but we did, and we wanted to make sure we had accounted for the costs that would be potentially there as well. So as we go back, we are going back out to do additional testing. When we do that, we'll have a more refined kind of treatment system in there, but we did want to make sure we cover it also.
Yeah, I completely understand there's gonna be more detail on this
Yeah.
layout and design, and I'm sure it's still under development. I'm certainly okay with putting that on there now for pricing, but, and if there is a need for the treatment, we absolutely need to have it. We need to have potable water to serve the school. But I'm just wondering, that we didn't need it before, I'm just wondering why it's there now.
Yeah, I'd have to check with my well specialist, but there might be I'm just presuming, you know, Department of Public Health requirements do change over time. So there may have been some new criteria that he had to meet that required the treatment now that it's been a new system.
Yeah,
Or
but
the
these wells
activation.
require periodic testing and confirmation that they're still operating under the permit.
Yep, like I said, I don't have the answer for you tonight. I'd
That's
have to
fine,
go,
I didn't expect that.
I can dig it up and I will get back to you guys via email with the requirement and figure out why there was some treatment shown.
And then, yeah, I see this is adjacent to the service area, which seems to make sense, but from a piping collection cost standpoint, this is the most cost-effective location with this separate building?
The issue we had with that whole basement area was just access down there, and then it became square footage to the building, to the school.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything's wrong, I
No,
just want to
no,
understand. the
I'm
basis.
trying, I'm telling you what, we went through the same justification, like, should we leave it where it is, and does it make sense? And we had many discussions about it, And ultimately, everybody agreed that putting it, because we've got the water storage for the sprinkler system, et cetera. And the decision was it would be good to have it all consolidated in one area, and that was the most cost effective way to do it.
Not to mention the existing piping, or
Okay.
if you found out where the existing piping went, it went all through the courtyard, all the way under the building slab in several different directions, in and out, and then back down to that lower left-hand corner of the building. Maintaining that, we would have basically tore that all up with the new addition anyways. But it just seemed more prudent to keep it outside the building where you guys could actually access it. Sure.
That makes sense.
It was, I want to say, a rat's nest trying to track these water lines, which we did do an underground mark out of tracing of all those lines to make sure that we knew where they were going.
Great. Anything else on water?
So there's a fire pump and a domestic water pump
Yes,
in this.
in this, yeah, there will be a wet well for the fire system. There will not be one for the domestic water. We're handling that without having.
Great.
Mark, how's your pricing coming?
Good.
DD almost there?
Yeah, actually, we're gonna have, I talked to Tracy before this meeting. She'll have the pricing wrapped up Friday afternoon.
Oh, great.
We're gonna have an internal ONG meeting Monday morning. Just to, double check everything, go through it. And then, actually, one of the things I have written down is set up a reconciliation with Rusty and their estimates. Actually,
Oh, great.
I asked her directly, do you have any ideas on the numbers yet? And no, she was still waiting for mechanicals, masonry. They look at it again, and I do have, our site estimator, or one of our site estimators looking at the detention, yeah, and he's giving me some feedback.
Great.
It's like segueing right to my stall.
You want me to, can I jump in with traffic? Yeah, I'll jump in with traffic first.
Sure.
It's easy. I had a discussion with VHB. We reviewed the traffic report. As we expected, capacity issues aren't going to be an issue in adjacent streets. There's not a lot of crash data. The volumes are just too low to show any sort of crash trends. What I did ask them to do and coordinate back with you and QA&M on was more operational issues at two key intersections. Obviously, the one by Cherry Hill and Hubbard is, it's a one leg of a T that has a stop condition on it, and it has to have additional stop signs, and there's a slight skew to it. I really just wanted an operation. I've asked them to add an operational assessment of that. Are there ways to improve the operations of the intersection to ensure that it flows when we have additional traffic going through there? And then the other one at 147 in Cherry Hill has a very significant skew. And ask them to come up with some concepts on there that are both signage, pavement marking, but also some more significant concepts, because that one being a state intersection there may be some, anything that's done there needs to get DOT approval, but also ask them to look at the sight line just on 147 to make sure that there is a site visibility line on it. So my concerns with them were they really needed to add some operational, site photos, site distance components to the traffic study, which is one of the things we had originally discussed with them.
Yep, so they did do a revision to the traffic study, which was given to us right before we submitted to planning and zoning, so that did go into the application. So that was accounted for, and we did discuss it after you had that conversation with them.
Great, thank you.
And just while we're on traffic, before we head on to the storm drainage, the OSTA application will be going in probably the upcoming week, I want to say. I'm just working out the formal application and all the materials that they require. Now that we have formally submitted to planning and zoning, we're allowed to submit the OSTA to get that all rolling, so that we can start getting their comments back and get that process going. So
What was the trigger for the OSTA submission?
it's a square footage.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're under the parking spaces in 200, but we're over the square footage for the building itself.
Okay, great.
So
So there wasn't a notice of permit previously.
No, there was not one on this one.
Is this being filed as an AD?
So you're familiar with the process.
The only.
Not to go
Too
through,
familiar.
well, about to know what we're going through.
The only other concern that was expressed was, they had the driveway in their report at the old location. I explained the new location,
The updated site plan to make sure that they updated that, so.
but your separation is fine there. Like I said, I think the site plan works really well. You also did a really good job of keeping existing vegetation, existing trees, along the frontage and within the site and not adding additional trees, which could cause issues. So I think you did a really good job screening everything there. The only other thing I'm concerned about, obviously queuing internally, I think works fantastic. I have a concern about queuing for pre-KK, whether or not there's enough in there without blocking emergency access. I didn't know if there was an opportunity to possibly widen a little bit for some stacking or.
There could be, yeah, I mean, I could look at it,
But-
but right now we're currally holding for 11 stacking spaces.
In this,
In that
Okay.
pre-K area,
okay,
so I'm pretty sure we have enough for that area for the stacking and that. And then I think we have, the parent drop off has 26 queue spaces.
for pre-K or,
No, for,
and that's only if you're single stacking.
Correct.
And you've actually made it wide enough to allow for double stacking pretty much almost the whole way.
Correct.
We may, when we run some turning movements, again, we may look at maybe dropping chamfer in that corner a little bit in case we want to turn the corner.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you've really put as much possible stacking in here as possible. And the parking lot's also accessible if the stacking is too large. They can bypass it, park and wait. So, yeah, I can't imagine a site plan design that has more available parent pickup than this one.
Yeah, it is a lot in this one.
So, my only other concern was with this parking lot, maybe making that, right turn from the parking lot into the bus loop a little more gradual in case somebody goes through here, looks to park, wants to go through so that they're not encroaching, they're not swinging out wide. But yeah, from a site plan perspective, from a parking lot layout, I think, yeah, I can't see it getting, better than what we have.
One other equipment question before we go on storm drainage. I see there's chillers and the generator located in the southeast corner of the building. I believe that's the location where the generator is now. But I'm just curious whether you're taking into consideration noise issues with the neighbors on that side. So he's gonna have some attenuation enclosures, or do we need to consider some sort of sound type wall around?
All of the above.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's gonna be, and again, aesthetically, you want to make it a major wall. And then if necessary, we'll add some screening, but screening the vegetation.
The only component of that won't screen is the transformer. And,
I'll worry about that.
yeah, I know. Our resources been a little.
Yeah, I just didn't see details of that on the plans. I'm glad to consider it. It's great.
Yep.
All right, on the drainage.
Drainage, okay. So with the layout as it is and the existing building is added, we wanted to look at it as much LID as possible, albeit we're a little limited just due to the parking that we had in the front corner. So just to give you guys an idea of what the existing drainage patterns are and then how we came about with the photos. Existing wise, there are 3 drainage areas. There's one that goes to the southeast corner. It's a traditional pipe system that connects into Hubbard Street. That is connected all through catch basins, no treatment on it whatsoever. It also takes the roof runoff and it goes through a 15-inch pipe into the state system and then ultimately discharges to the river, to the east. Then there is the easterly portion of the site, which is where the athletic fields are. That flows overland to the east directly to the river. And then there's the northwest corner that kind of goes to the north and to the east towards the river, ultimately with overland flow. We're maintaining those 3 drainage patterns. The only thing that we're trying to accomplish here is trying to divide and conquer to the point where we're utilizing as much LID as we physically can with the space we have. While detaining the stormwater to be below the existing condition. So we are reducing peak runoff to the river is what we're ultimately going as the outfall, by a couple of CFS and last storm events. We are focusing most of our detention on the south leg, the one that goes to Hubbard Street, for a multitude of reasons. One being that it is going to the state system, and as Darren knows, I really can't show anything that's gonna increase on the state system. They will just
Or
basically.
is there still? There's no
Well,
state-
it's Hubbard Street, isn't it? It's
Town.
town road, but yeah, I'm sorry. Going to Hubbard Street, I'm trying to reduce that stormwater down as much as possible, just because it's only a 15-inch pipe and we have to, most of that site is actually going down to that system. I want to reduce that down to make sure that there's enough capacity in that system.
But isn't that 15-inch undersize as it exists?
Yes. So I'm trying to reduce it as much as possible, which is where I'm focusing most of my reduction on. The easterly overland flow, we have an increase, but the way we're treating it is though that increase that goes overland flow to the river itself is being handled by, one being it's not concentrated flow that goes to the east. The majority of it is pretty much staying the same as it was, aside from the basketball court area and the small amount of impervious that we're adding towards the parking lot extension there. The parking lot and the basketball courts, we're utilizing water quality swales that go around that lower field that we're putting in. That will run the stormwater around to a level spreader and then ultimately down to the river itself. Those have all been designed to make sure that we had at minimum a foot of freeboard to give capacity and also to ensure that we weren't going to be, negatively impacting the residential properties to the south. The main Hubbard Street system, the way we're handling that is combination between bioretention, which we're having on that westerly island that we have along the main route, drive that goes up to the pre-K area. And then we are putting in a large underground, recharge system that is, right now we're calling for it to be storm trapped with sufficient amount of stone below it to have the water quality volume encapsulated underneath. And then ultimately that gets discharged to the roadway system through the 15-inch pipe itself. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. If there's any questions, which I'm sure there are, why didn't we think of this? Is there something else you want us to entertain? I'd be more.
Surprisingly, we have no question.
No, I mean,
That's funny.
yeah.
Um,
But I mean, I'm always open to,
Yeah.
if you have an idea that I haven't thought of, or, want me to try to incorporate, I'd be more than happy to look into it. We're at that point now, which is a great time to, if you want me to change something, I'm more than happy to.
I think the biggest question was, increase in runoff, or are you capturing the increase or are you capturing total with your water management, with your stormwater system? Are you just capturing the increases caused by the building addition?
No, total.
Okay,
Total, we always do a pre to post. So total site, including anything that comes onto the site. So anything that impacts our 3 drainage, our 1 drainage outfall.
I guess, I don't want to change existing conditions, but
But I think what Howie's getting at is your detention designed for the change in runoff existing proposed? Or is it designed to move another step? So are you just designing to retain for the change in impervious and land cover between existing and proposed, or are you trying to treat?
it was an entirely new system.
No, it is just for the increase in impervious surface.
So this is just capturing the building addition and gym.
And all parking
And
and
parking.
added to the site.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't design to overcompensate, retain back
How was
every piece of impervious surface.
Oh, because we didn't see a design, is there a design report?
Yes, there
Okay,
is.
yeah, because we don't have a copy.
No, it just got submitted to planning and
Okay.
zoning, which I'll be more than happy to provide to you as well.
That's typically what you review
Yes,
and,
yeah. No, I totally, yeah.
so that was our big question, because this thing is fairly large.
It is true.
And next question is, have you went with the storm,
I went with storm trap.
storm trap, O and G, are there, you know, we've used contact, obviously, plastic.
So the spec is gonna be a basis of design and then multiple options for them to price out. and
Okay.
use, As long as it's an equivalent.
Because
I have
precast
no
concrete
issue.
is,
I have no issue with chambers. The good part about the concrete one, it covers a good amount of cost that up front. Two, they can drive on it the minute they put it in. They don't have any issues accessing the site. It doesn't cut them off. It's a quick install once you get the apparatus in there to pull it on, but I am not opposed to any
Okay,
ground
great.
chambers, light. If there's another system that the contractors want to use, as long as it's on the approved list. I'm fine
Perfect.
with it.
Great.
No
It's a
issue.
large capacity, for the square foot footprint.
Okay,
It does have a very good,
No,
very good
if you
story.
if you want plastic. Talking to the estimator today. It's expensive. It is expensive. If you go plastic, it could be cheaper to buy, but you're gonna have a much greater area.
Much greater area, and then you're also kind of limiting your site to being accessible while that's being installed,
Correct.
and then after installation as well, until it's got out
Correct.
to the appropriate backfill. So it's a trade-off. I mean, I'm not saying that it's the perfect system, but it's a system that meets the requirements and meets the needs, and then it keeps accessibility for contractors to move forward with their construction during that whole car season.
how is the maintenance on those? Because obviously, you know, are there ports? How do
Yeah,
you?
there'll be inspection ports at the corners. We may also, depending on the size of it, as we kind of go through it, may add a couple additional ones, but they usually just vac jet it
Okay.
and back it out and suck it out on the other end. It's not that hard to maintain.
Okay.
So it's,
Yeah, as long as there's a operations and maintenance plan.
it's in the drainage report that you will receive.
Excellent. Good. So yeah, Eric will stay in touch with them, but
Yep.
yeah, it'll be a combination of whatever you guys think is gonna be the best economically and whatever he can maintain.
But yeah, for state guidelines, we have to give at least 3 manufacturers that are equals.
Okay,
So we give a basis of design just so they can get their costs up, but I give them multiple manufacturers that I deem as being acceptable. Yeah, the Contact or the Coltech ones or the ES ones are all, you know, okay for us to use, so.
They're all licensed locally, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
okay.
So I like the idea of providing the basis design and the performance spec and letting the market and the bidders decide. Is there an opportunity for us to evaluate those opportunities before? Just especially with Eric, as far as he's got to maintain this long term, as whether there's any specific preference in the end, or are we just locked in whatever's put into the bid?
So what I'd say is if Ryan has a base of design and we need to list 2 other equals, those 2 other equals can be vetted by this group here as to what goes into our specifications before it hits the street. Other than that, we would be obtaining a substitution request from a contractor, ideally
Okay.
pre-bid. If they're trying to propose something else, what the differences are between any of the manufacturers we've provided as a basic design or approved equal, and how their system that they're proposing compares against that. So that's something we'd work closely with ONG, our team, and you guys before kind of accepting any of those.
And typically,
Yeah.
it's rare that we get them or get them in time. You know, I'll get a substitution request a week before the bid. Like, what do you want me to do? You know?
Yeah, so we would be,
Solution to that, though, at times we can create an alternate just for that particular product. So in the bid form, we can assign, the basis of design is this brand.
Yeah.
And then add alternate for the 2 or equals.
Yeah, I would
That
say
way
the
you
only,
can lock in your value, I mean, making a decision before you award the contract.
so I'm okay with us approving the 3 options, just as long as we have the right to reject the substitutions.
Yeah, because one of the
We always
things
have
on
the right to
substitution
reject.
is,
Substitutions, not listed,
Or equals.
Right.
not or equal. Yeah,
Right.
Correct.
yeah, no, the
the 2
substitutions.
substitutions that I
Totally up
give,
to you.
the 2 other options are the ones that we'll accept. If I deem them acceptable from all the criteria that I give them for what I
Correct.
require.
So you're not gonna put them in the docs if they're not acceptable.
No, yeah, I mean, it's
As long as the design works.
the
The
design.
product is acceptable when it goes out to bid. Those 3 products are deemed
Yeah, see,
acceptable.
the only drawback with the multiple systems and the different types of system is you know, a plastic chamber system versus the concrete system, the footprints can be drastically different. And that can, you know, it's not so much of, hey, you got bigger, but that impacts a lot of other things.
Well, you
Like-
have to be comfortable with it.
Yeah,
Well,
so I'm just letting you know that it's not like we can just put in, you know, this is the basis of design, this is an ad alternate, this is, get pricing all through, because there's other implications that go into the cost at that point. Because the footprint may change, now light fixtures may not be in the right locations that we have to kind of work around, take chambers out, move them over here. So there may be some shifting in things for, say, an EDS system compared to the one we have shown as the basis of design. But I have to approve the layout at the end result, once I see it. So
Understood. So I'm guessing there's 50% of our people in the room that aren't interested in this drainage discussion. I'd be more than happy to have an individual discussion. about
Absolutely.
this.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do that.
yeah.
There may only be two people in this room.
I'll just give you general concern tonight.
Give us a Zoom link.
To simplify this meeting and not belabor it and have us all stay here longer than we need to. I think we need to reconsider some options for the drainage to the eastern side of the site. I think the swales around that other play field, I envision that as being a usable play area. Are kind of problematic for access to that field and use of the field.
Okay.
I would love to consider eliminating some of the yard drains on that side. The lawn area there, sheet flows now across the field and leaves a lot of opportunity for infiltration. I would be comfortable, I don't know if everybody is, with letting those lawn areas sheet flow across the emergency access and other areas during rain events. I don't think we're gonna have, like, you know, a big crowd of kids out there playing on the playgrounds and the sport courts during the rainfall event. We can eliminate some drainage, we can save some money, we can allow for some more infiltration, and we won't be concentrating so much flow in that southeast corner.
If the building committee is accepting, it, you know, okay with me sheet flowing over, I would be more than happy to. Yeah, that, to me, it's less things I have to calculate and move into the model, and I can take them out, so it's easy. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Does that mean, though, that if it's sheet flowing and what happens in the winters if we're need access to the courts and it's freezing up? I mean, those are the concerns I generally have with anything that's sheet flowing and just
Just a maintenance item, if it freezes, you get ice build up.
Well, you're gonna have, if it rains or freezes, you're gonna have it on the court anyway. I don't think having sheet flow during a rainfall event across those courts is leading to more icing.
I didn't bring it up because I know sometimes when it becomes a maintenance issue, which is then enough, especially if there's access required. So.
And if there's snow on the ground and you're clearing that emergency access, you're gonna have snowbanks there. Happy to talk through it more.
No, I'm, this is good. I mean, not every day I get an extra set of eyes on my own drainage, aside from the reviewing engineer who's.
We could also save it up with padding so it uses hockey.
So, so in addition to that one of the things that we've been looking at in schools elsewhere is DCIA, direct connection, impervious area reduction, through the creation of rain gardens.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of spots, but there does seem to be a spot adjacent to the building addition where you could possibly put in a rain garden adjacent to that entrance and possibly,
We are not gonna get below that DCIA requirement.
No.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But we can put in an additional rain garden if,
I think a
Yeah.
rain garden would be
Yeah.
a nice feature, especially as part of the school from an educational perspective, but also a low impact development technique.
yeah, the layout is not lending itself to a ton of it.
No, it
So
really
if
isn't.
we can get it, let's get it.
And that's
Good with that.
I
Yeah.
think you can get a decent size in there. But yeah, that's really it. As far as the other one, I don't see much of a need for this one. It seems probably like more effort than good.
It's a tough spot. I mean,
Especially-
Find that front parking lot, figure out what could we
Yeah.
do for LID.
I think you could just vegetate it. But if you can do something up here, I think that would mitigate the need to do anything down there. Other than that, Darren and I'll have a couple other comments and Greg, I don't know if you're available for tomorrow. To meet on site.
I can't.
All right.
I'm tied up in New Haven.
We'll grab you at some point. We'll just
Yeah.
walk the site. But yeah, we'll get some opinions and figure out stuff on that lower area.
Yeah, I tried to avoid a standard kind of above ground pond in that area, just
Yeah.
knowing the residents.
No, I think-
Didn't want to add anything that looked like it could potentially give them,
Mosquitoes.
not even just mosquitoes, just something that give them caution.
Yeah.
About what's happening in the area, so I try to keep it as minimal as possible, but. If the concern is, that being, a little gully that kids are gonna run into and, be a nightmare for everybody and accessibility, I'm fine with that, we'll just come up with another solution that'll.
And we can always
Meet
berm,
our
if
concerns.
we can berm it a little between the property line and the.
At what point would be the next time you'd check in with the neighbors too? Because I just don't know how long we.
Tomorrow.
Oh, that'd be tomorrow. I wasn't sure if you were talking about meetings.
Oh, no, we're actively. Great, I think, any other questions on drainage? Anybody else have any concerns? Any other systems we're missing? Great, that was awesome, thank you, I appreciate, you taking the time on relatively short notice to meet with us, so.
Darren, I'll set up a meeting with you to go over it.
Sure, great. All right, on that, I guess we can move to votes. First one is the vote to recommend contract award for RFQ 2025-006 OPM. You've been filling it?
So we received 6 bids and we interviewed 2 potential OPMs and through subcommittee. And the subcommittee has is recommending to the building committee here to approve the recommendation to the full board on the 8th to recommend STV for the owner's project manager.
Okay. So I need a motion to recommend to the board. STV as the OPM.
Yep. For
RFQ.
25006.
May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a second for voting to recommend the contract award for RFP 2025-006 OPM to STV. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just note that John Giammatteo left at 6:30.
Okay. And
We'll have the
Motion
contracts
passes.
ready to be signed right after the 8th, and they've been preliminarily notified that we would be recommending them, and we've checked references, all that, and they're ready to hit the ground running.
fantastic. Great. Works for everybody? Good. All right, item B, vote to approve invoices.
I have a couple invoices. I'll read them all off in the amounts, and then we can just do one motion, and then I'll attach this to the minutes. Motion to pay 1-800 Pack Rat for storage pods at Lyman, $539.56. Another 1-800 Pack Rats to relocate one unit that we are keeping for another month, $99. The other 3 have been returned. Cube Smart storage units, $240.50. We are now going to be receiving Eversource bills for the new portable service. This first one was $56.13. K&J tree service, we had stump grinding done at Strawn for $300. And Mobile Modular, the monthly portable lease, which we will be taking, assuming from Diversity, to release them from that, what is it, the retainage, the contract.
Right, we had
So we can close out with them.
Right, so period in the diversity contract is 23 months of lease, plus the cost for Mobile Modular to pick up the units 2 years from now. Those funds are moving back to your owner's contingency by a change order and become available to pay, and so we went through the process of transferring that lease.
To let them go. That was always the plan. That was written right into the bid.
And that amount is $3,779.68.
I will make a motion to approve the invoices that Kim just read off
Okay.
with an attachment to the minutes.
Second,
Second.
great. And so take a vote for approving the invoices that Jim had read for Pack Rat, CubeSmart, Eversource, K&G, and Mobile Modular.
No discussion.
Any discussion? No discussion, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay,
And then the next item, the change orders were not ready, so we'll address that at, probably not at the 8th meeting, but at the one after that. Dan, is that good?
Your next meeting is the 15th.
Well, yeah, because we have a joint meeting at the 8th with the Board of Ed, so we're gonna be after the 15th.
I think we have to make a determination as to whether or not there's enough items to discuss. Since we had this meeting.
Sure.
But we can discuss it, and if there's a few items, maybe we, go virtual on it.
Your my payment application for progress through September, will be available over that 15th is the plan, as
Okay.
well as these, change orders and.
Okay,
And we also talked about bringing the MEP engineers in to just go over the system with you. Because I was thinking that that would happen at that next meeting on the 15th.
okay, that sounds good. So, okay, no members online still?
Nope.
No members of the public, great. With that, motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Howard, what time are you trying to meet?
There were no needs for.
What time are you
right?
trying to?
Darren, what time, 5:30?
Yes.
5:30.
I will try to get there, might be late.
Yeah.
We were discussing